Good morning, everyone. This is Tim Souza with Real Estate en Route, and I'm super excited to be here in Regina this morning with Peter Fourlas and Kaitlin Brown. And
Hi.
These guys are super awesome power team here in the community. I was blown away by their website and their kind of online presence, so I'm super excited to hear about their expertise in what's going on here in Regina. Thank you guys for joining me this morning.
Hey, our
Thanks
pleasure.
for having us.
Yeah, it's I'm kind of excited. So why don't you start by telling us how long have you been in real estate? What's kind of been your real estate journey? And then I guess how long you guys have been working together, because I know that's kind of separate.
Sure, absolutely. I've had my license now for 11 years in just residential real estate here in all of Regina.
Okay.
And Pete and I joined forces about a year ago. We've known each other for a decade, but we just officially formed a team about a year ago.
Cool, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've been in real estate I just had my 10-year anniversary actually on October 9th.
Congratulations.
I'm fully licensed in every aspect of real estate, including my broker's license. Yeah, I've been in sales the majority of my adult life, and I love it. There's nothing I'd rather do.
Yeah. So what brought you both into real estate, just as a pure curiosity?
A good friend of mine gave me her books. She said, I think you'd be really great at it. And I had done some university prior to that, but didn't have a really straight focus or a passion in anything. And she gave me her books and got my license in about a month. And that was 11 years ago, and I've never looked back.
Awesome.
I was in a sales job, and I earned a good living, but all of a sudden there was a ceiling over my head, and with my lifestyle, it just didn't work, so I needed to figure something out pretty quick.
Yeah.
I was going to go into commercial real estate, but a good friend of mine in Calgary is an agent there. You might want to talk to him. His name is Danny Green. Suggested that I look at residential. I was looking at both, and I went that direction into residential real estate, and like Kaitlin, I've never looked back either. So it's been a successful decade in real estate, and life's good.
That's good. Well, it seems, talking with both of you, it seems like you have a great family-work balance, and then this is kind of really provided for you guys the lifestyle that you're looking for.
For sure.
On average, how many homes do you guys sell per year as a team, individuals in the past, but as a team together now?
Well, we won't really know what our together number is till the end of the year,
so.
but I know myself on average it's between 90 and 110 houses a year the last 3, 4, 5 years. So
I'm on track to do about 40 this year, so not
Awesome.
as much as Pete, but.
Awesome. And so how many homes, what is the turnover in Regina in general? Like how many homes are on the market year over year? Do you guys know?
Right now, there's about 1,400 homes on the market. That's residential homes and condos.
Okay.
In the last 365 days, we've had about a little over 2,500 sales.
Wow. Okay. So is that pretty average for the market?
we've been in a pretty turbulent market here in Regina the last few years. A lot of things have contributed to that.
Please.
Our local economy, the mortgage changes that we've felt right across Canada.
Right.
Buyer confidence is a little low, so a lot of our investors are non-existent. A lot of our new home builds are considerably slower. So it's been a grind for a lot of the businesses here in this industry.
Interesting. And so, what is the average? I guess let's zoom out there. So you mentioned condos. You mentioned like new builds. What are the different kinds of homes that I would find here in Regina?
That are just on the market in general?
That are on the market in general, yeah.
Single family dwellings, condos, obviously we have some commercial space as well, duplexes, apartment style condos, attached homes, detached homes.
So kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
What's the population of Regina as a whole? I know, let's just pretend I know absolutely nothing. So
I don't
population wise to number of homes, if there's about 2,400 units being sold every year.
I don't know.
I think there's just under 300,000.
Just under 300,000?
I can't remember though. It's been a while since I looked at that.
We can look that up. We'll put it
I'm pretty sure it's about just under 300,000.
Just under 300,000. Okay. So, and with that population, I think for me, I'm always very curious as I've entered small towns. So I was like just in Portage.
Portage the
The
Prairie.
Prairie yesterday morning actually, and it was very fascinating. They're like, we have 240 units every year that are sold, right? And that blows my brain because that sounds so tiny,
Yeah.
right? But you guys are 10x that, right?
Right.
So within each of those, where do you find the when you segment that market of all of those homes, how many of those are in like a lower end, middle, or high end part of the market that you see a lot of like high inventory in?
I'd say the majority of those are like probably 2 to 350.
That's where we
price
have the
points.
highest amount of activity
Movement,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So is that the average price point in the community?
Yeah.
So say that again. So it's
2 to 350. Like I think our average, if we had, according to our HPI, is probably about $327,000 would be our average, according to the home price index. Any other report, like the average would be a little bit higher or lower, but
the average price point is about, you said 275.3 or 375?
250 to 350. So
250,
our average
350,
sale price,
okay.
depending if you're looking at single family dwellings or condos.
Condos.
If you're looking at a whole, we're around 300. If you're looking just at single family dwellings, we're up around that 330 mark.
And those single family dwellings, are they like bungalow, 2-story,
Everything.
attached and mid-attached? What do you find is most common, or what people most desire?
well, the last decade, just because the developers are shrinking the lot sizes, 2 stories fit there with the most square footage because you're building up, as opposed to a bungalow, which is either deep or wide. So that's been kind of the most prominent build style.
We've had a ton of growth here in the last 10 years in terms of new builds. Harbor Landing, for example, is an area in the south end of the city sold out 10 years before they anticipated in terms of lots.
Really?
So that's where we get a ton of the 2 stories, going up, shrinking the lot size.
What's driving growth here in Regina?
Well, it was immigration. It was our oil industry. Unfortunately, that slowed down with the new government 4 years ago-ish. So
Okay, and so has it followed that? Is it
totally
build
100%.
followed that as well?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Our, it's all supply and demand. So we had surplus of inventory, and then, our economy changed, and we had a lot of buyers leave the market altogether. So that definitely drove prices down. Our average sale price for single-family dwellings have decreased between 12 and 15% in the last 5 years. We're starting to see a little bit of a recovery from that, but we definitely did have quite a big downturn in the last 5 years.
And is oil the main industry of the community, or what drives that
oil
economic swing? Yeah.
Oil and potash were prominent drivers of our economy for quite some time.
And now what does it look like? So that was about 4 years ago. What's the economic basis? You laugh, but am I pushing a button? I'm sorry.
I mean, we have a lot of local entrepreneurs that continue to help build our economy, but like Alberta and Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the oil industry is just grinded down to almost nothing. With the drop in oil price, it's been significantly
it's
slower.
impacted the community a lot.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And so then the turnover of inventory that slows down.
Yeah.
When that happens.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it also puts a lot more inventory on our market because people that were employed by the oil patch or by the oil sands or by the mines, they can no longer afford everything that they could. So their houses are getting repoed, their boats are getting repoed, their cars are getting repoed. Like it's pretty tough, in a lot of respects here.
Okay.
But,
and then just so people very much pay attention then to everything that's happening around policy and oil and gas, and that because that dictates their whole life
right
in this community. Yeah. Interesting. Cool. I come from an agricultural community where
so do we. I mean, agriculture of course drives our community as well. There's a lot of fields you're going to see between, so obviously agriculture is a big part of our community. So I didn't mean to take anything away from that.
No, okay. I was just
but
curious.
here in Regina, just locally, what's driving it, that's all I was speaking to. Sorry.
No, that's fair enough. I was just curious because I'm like, it's to me being in kind of it sounds like a boom bust type kind of swing space is very unfamiliar for how it affects the real estate market. I know for a lot of people across the country, like people in Toronto who just look at it and they're like, oh, oil's bad for the environment, it does these things, and then we pass policy, it doesn't exactly
affect them the same way.
The same way, right? And so they don't see their neighbors' homes being repossessed and et cetera. So that I think highlighting that is actually very important because it does shed light on the other side of the fact that people's lives are directly tied to these industries.
I don't know, like myself personally, in the first 8 years of real estate, I maybe recall a couple dozen owners of homes being banks or lawyers. In the last 2 years, I think you could probably look through
really
hundreds. It's kind of crazy.
Wow. And is it
also, I was going to say about 50% of our inventory is vacant. So a lot of people have moved on or moved out, can't sell their homes, and that's, I think, a big reason why the bank's taking over a lot of them.
Interesting. And so what? So this is just from a pure curiosity standpoint. So how are you guys like selling or bringing people into the community at this point? Or is there like a Regina as a whole? As a whole, is Regina pushing for people to come into the community for?
Well, we still have people coming into our community. It's not. We have different. What's the word I'm looking for?
Avenues?
No. We have different demographics that are bringing people into the community. So it's not. Immigration isn't just as prominent as it was in 13, 14, 15. It's just slowed down considerably with just the different changes. But, we still have people moving here. Like we still have Crowns moving people in, or the RCMP moving people in and out, so...
So it's positive. So people, the market's still moving.
Yeah, it's not all doom and
That's kind of where I'm trying to get to. Is this,
sorry.
It's not like it's this like, oh my gosh, we have a dystopian type,
Yeah.
No, I mean, things are selling. They're taking longer to sell. We've got more inventory. We have less buyers. But we are starting to see our market rebound a little bit. So that's positive.
So what can buyers and sellers expect when engaging in the market here? So what does an average home on the market look like? I know that if you were to look at communities like Kingston, if you were to see a home on the market like over a month, it might be a little bit stale at that point. So how long should people expect to see it's average to see homes on the market for X period of time?
Yeah. Our average days on market right now is about 67, would you say? Okay. So longer than we've, seen over the last 5 years, but average list to sale price is 95 over the city. In terms of buyers, if you find it's all supply and demand. I mean, it depends what neighborhood you're looking in. There's pockets of the city where there's not a lot of inventory, or there's not a lot of good inventory, where those properties get snapped up really quick. We've been in a couple multiple offer situations in the last year, which seems a little bit crazy just looking at the sheer volume of inventory that we have, but it kind of depends on the pockets of, the city. So condos, for instance, we have way too many condos. They've dropped more significantly than homes have in the last 5 years. We're down 25%. So, if you're looking for a condo in Harbor Landing, pick and choose which one you want. There's
tons of them.
10 available. So those ones tend to sit on the market a little bit longer. So it kind of depends on the property that you're after. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, our market is extremely price sensitive, so it's all driven by price. So you need to try and list and market the property at the fairest market value that you can in order to try and get it sold in that average days on market.
Nice. And so let's talk about your guys' business for a moment, because I think this is cool, and this is the reason I'm jumping into this, is that I had a lot of interesting questions asked of me when I stepped out of tech and back into real estate, like why would you want to become a realtor? You're just going to become a professional door opener / advanced search algorithm. And I'm like, agents do a lot more than that. So let's talk about your business. What do you guys do to sell a home? What's your average process that you can kind of enlighten clients into? Hey, this is what it looks like to sell a home here in Regina with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've changed our process quite a bit over the last 10 years. The market's changed, and we've had to change along with it. So last year, Pete and I spent a lot of time figuring out, what can we do more for our sellers? How can we market our properties more? How can we get our properties seen and sold before the other 10 that are on the market? So we've implemented a pretty strategic marketing plan. We've implemented video into our marketing strategy. Stats on that, or the reason for that, was properties that have video get 400 times more views than properties that have photos alone. So
interesting.
That's kind of one avenue. And then we do a lot more advertising for our properties on all the social media sites. A lot of paid advertisements directed at the demographic. for the person that we think is going to purchase that home. You know, are we targeting a young family or a retired couple or a first-time home buyer? And then again, pay to directly target those people.
So with the next, so what are your demographics? So when you look at your demographics in this community, when you're saying, do you have a lot of how balanced is it? Do you have a lot of like retirees in this space who are coming out of industry? Do you have a lot of new families? Do you have a lot of in the middle? Like where are the demographics in Regina? And then I guess the asterisk there is, where are they looking for homes? Where do you find them looking for homes?
We don't pigeonhole ourselves into a specific demographic that we deal with. I've spent the last 30 years getting to know people of every sort of demographic through different, clubs, through, coffee shops, through my car dealership. So
community in general.
We are very community oriented. We get to know everybody, and we don't have a specific demographic that we cater to, which is fine. So we will sell anything right across the city. So
people are buying and selling in every demographic.
Okay.
I don't know why or how it works, but I tend to deal with a lot of first-time home buyers.
Okay.
But dealing with people moving up into their second homes, and I don't know if that's just being in the industry for 10 years and starting to do a lot more of that repeat and referral. So people that I'd sold a first-time home to 5 or 10 years ago, they're looking to move up. So I would say those two are my main source of business, what I'm working on right now. But again, not to pigeonhole myself or say that I wouldn't work with somebody that's retiring or
outside of
whatnot.
it. Yeah. So when you're talking to, I guess, let's go first-time home buyer and then people who are moving up. What would be advice in this market that you would offer to someone who is let's start with selling their home. Let's start with someone who's moving up. So someone who is stepping into they're moving out of their first home because they're growing their family. What would you recommend in regards to selling their property? I guess as a seller.
Want me to answer that?
Sure.
I would recommend getting your house on the market first and foremost. We've ran into a lot of situations where people find that next dream home, and by the time their home sells, that property is gone. So a lot of people are questioning, do I put my home up first? Do I sell my home first? Do I buy first? In the market that we're in right now, which is super price sensitive, and it is a buyer's market, my recommendation would be to put your home on the market first. And ideally secure a sale before looking for that second property. Now the issue that you sometimes run into there is, okay, well, what if we sell our house and then we don't find, that house that we want to move into? My recommendation would be to look for something short-term, a rental. I know it's not ideal, but in order to get you into that second property and not have to worry about carrying 2 mortgages or even being approved for 2 mortgages, you might not have the ability to buy that second home. So I know it's not ideal, but that would be my recommendation.
It's an easier problem to solve than why isn't my house selling?
Right, or a contingent
and then you know what it sells for. You know the dollar value that you have in your pocket, which might influence your next purchase.
So, but how in this market, then how far in advance should they be thinking? If you're like, I want to sell, what does that look like? And
if you're willing to listen to us in terms of our price recommendations, and you allow us to market your property strategically, I would say we can hopefully get your home sold in 60 days or less.
I think she meant if you're willing to work with us, not listen to us.
A
little bit of both.
Listen to the advice that you guys.
Listen to our advice.
I mean, okay, let's be honest. If you're selling about like 130, 150 homes a year, that's a little bit more than I am selling here in Regina, right? So, or if I had a property and I'm selling a house once every 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
That maybe I didn't come across properly, but if you want to work with us and you will take our advice in terms of the list price and then let us work on the marketing side, I would say that we can get it sold within 60 days.
Cool.
Absolutely. And we guide you. I mean, we meet with you. We pay to have a stager come through and help prep your home for photos, for subsequent showings. We get all the feedback, which is really valuable, and we are able to filter that feedback and let you know the validity of the feedback based on who it's coming from, that kind of thing. So that's always important as well, so we can act accordingly based on the quality of the feedback.
Yeah, we're not going to let you list your property on MLS. Kind of wait for showings to happen, or
say a few
buyers
Hail
to come
Marys
along.
and pray for it to get sold, right? So
We're really going to actively sell that and actively monitor the activity and the feedback and make any adjustments that we need to actually get it sold.
yeah.
Fair enough. So, and then on the flip side, the buyer side, so your first time home buyers, and those, then as people sell their homes and they go to buy, what recommendation would you give to them in a buyer's market that you have right now?
Here in Regina, we have a lot of inventory. So, I mean, people are going to get a glimpse at a lot of homes. So, we have a very volatile soil here. We need to always ensure, I always tell people I have 3 rules of real estate on the buy end. I want to make sure that your house is going to be safe and not going to fall in on you. So we look at structure first and foremost. Okay. Number 2 is I always want to make sure that the home you choose isn't going to overextend you. I don't want you to be living house poor or living check to check, or not being able to take your kids out for ice cream or take your wife to a movie or your partner to a movie. I also want to make sure that anyone I sell a house to is going to be safe. So those are 3 very important areas of how I work with buyers myself. So.
To add to that, I would say understanding the market value of a home so you never overpay is really important too. So we walk you through that on the offer stage. I get a question a lot, how much can we, how much lower than the list price can we offer, or, what can we get this home for? It doesn't necessarily matter what it's listed for. We really want to try and find the true value of that property, just based on what somebody else was willing to pay for a similar property. So I sit down with you and we actually look at those comparables together so that you can feel confident in the number that you're offering and paying.
So there's a little bit of an education there.
Oh, 100%, always.
Yeah.
You're willing to teach and share, like, hey, from our expertise in the last year, this is what we've seen.
Definitely.
That kind of thing.
I'm sure combined we probably go into over 4,500 homes. I know myself, I probably go into about 3,000 a year, probably. So we have a good, we have a good pulse on the market, so we understand what's going on.
That's a lot of homes.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Just straight up, like that's a decent number of houses. Yeah. And so I'm guessing that's cross market, right? That's from like high end to condo to everything in between.
Yeah.
Interesting. So with that though, you were saying that the market is patterns in the market have shifted. When is the time to put your home on the market, and when is the time to look to buy generally? So let's go what's traditionally been a thing, and then what we're seeing now, because I know at home back in California everything's structured around the school system really, and so parents really want to make sure their kids are in the school for the year, and so the second that school's out, we see, which is like June, we see spikes in properties going on the market, and then that lasts until like September, and then selling slows down. And so if you want to buy, a great time to buy would be kind of outside of that bubble, because that's when people are selling for other reasons than high season. So what is high season, what's low season? What does that look like here?
I think myself, I think real estate is situational. It's not seasonal. Okay. I tell people that all the time. People die, people get married, people divorce, people have twins when they weren't expecting them. So real estate.
How often do you get that one? I'm out of curiosity.
It's happened to me a few times.
Yeah, really?
Where people live in a 2-bedroom and they're having a set of twins, and they've already got 2 kids. They were expecting a single, which they could deal with, but 2, it's kind of tough. Like,
I'm sorry.
So I mean, I tell people that real estate is situational. It's not seasonal anymore, which is historically here. I think in Saskatchewan, it's spring and summer, similar to California, the summer aspect. But a lot of people try and get their market or their home ready to market for the spring months, and then subsequent summer months.
Do you find yourself educating people that it's not that way anymore, and that you need to kind of be thinking more?
I do. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, historically, we do see the most amount of activity in the spring. But looking at the buy side of that, there's going to be more inventory, but there's also going to be more demand. So if you're looking to buy when there's less supply and less demand, does that make sense? It's all supply and demand.
Yeah, it's all supply and demand. And so when in that, I guess, 365-day cycle, you're saying that the spring that the supply goes up.
Yeah.
When do you find that there's more demand? When do sellers have more power in
we haven't had that for a while.
It's been when oil is high.
Yeah, like honestly, since maybe 13, 14, I haven't seen a seller's market for a long time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you've been in a buyer's market then since
Yes.
since that time period.
We've had a surplus of inventory since then. We did see quite an increase in our activity last month compared to 2018. It was up 22%. So we're starting to see
the market pick back up.
A little uptick, and
Little uptick.
hopefully it'll continue.
That's exciting.
So yeah, it's good. It's not all bad, trust me.
Yeah, no, it's
Like,
good. And I think
We've had the worst economy and the worst real estate market here in the last 10 years, but for me personally, it's been my busiest year. Like these last three years have gotten busier. So it's not bad. But on the flip side of that, I've changed my business significantly in order to try and to get that business, and it's been working, you know, and that's where our partnership came into effect, where we looked at what everybody was doing and we thought, what can we do to do it different and to do it better.
So what is your unique value proposition then, that you guys are positioning yourself to be like, this is why we want to work with you, like you guys as a team?
I think a big part of it is our marketing.
Okay.
You know, we do a lot more than the average agent to get your home exposed. I was going to say something else.
Hard work, and our network of people is paramount as well. We both, Kaitlin comes from a farming background. My parents were Greek immigrants that worked in the restaurant. I burnt my hand when I was 4 cooking in a kitchen. You know, that's where I grew up. I grew up working hard, and Kaitlin as well. So
I think another big benefit is there's 2 of us. If one of us isn't available, there always is somebody there to help you and guide you through on both sides. So you're never left with, you know, one of us not available if we're busy with other clients or with our families. You always have that support.
yeah, cool. There's always someone at the end of the phone.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. And that allows you guys to both breathe and be human and do business, right? Because this is a business that can take over.
Oh,
your life.
100%. And it has over the last few years. So it's really nice to be able to spend time with kids or my wife, or you know, different charities that I work with, or you know, it's nice to be able to actually have a life beyond real estate. So
So how are you guys involved in the community? You mentioned charities. I think that's a great opportunity to kind of segue. What do you guys actively do outside of, obviously you're very involved in the community and understanding what's happening in the market, understanding where people are at in their home buying cycles, but like outside of that, what do you guys do?
Pete does a lot more in the community that I do. I'm involved with my kids' hockey and you know, managing his team and with his school a little bit. But Pete does support a lot of local charities for sure.
I'll say that's not a minor task though, being involved in
No.
hockey scene.
Not at all.
And being involved in school, like that's don't undersell yourself there. That's very much community involvement.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Myself, I coach both my kids' soccer. I'm a volunteer at their school as well. For the last 4 years, every month on my Facebook page, I've selected a specific charity that I donated to specifically for new likes and for page shares. I've kind of stopped doing that this last year working as Fourlas and Brown, but I've diverted the time and energy and funds to different areas, such as the Build Love project. I work hard with them, and I'm a volunteer. I'm the sponsorship management coordinator, whatever you want to call it. I also, for the last 5 years, I've given an adoption to the Humane Society, specifically so somebody can have the joy of a pet in their life.
You were just nominated for an award too, weren't you?
I was just nominated for philanthropist. I can't remember the actual term. I was nominated for the individual volunteer award for the National Philanthropy Day here locally in Regina.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I try and do as much in my community as I can. It's I love it here. I was born, raised here, and I like helping as much as I can. So it's everything I do has a little piece of my heart, and I've recently also become a little bit more a part of the Big Brothers Big Sisters
cool.
Foundation as well. So everybody can use some money, of course, but I'm going to actually try and be a mentor as well, because I think that's really important. So Kaitlin, you're gonna have to make some time for me to. You're gonna have to give some time so I can make some time.
I can do that.
And that's such fun stuff. So it's all easy. So it's good.
Good. Well, that's awesome. I love the fact that, yes, we can generate, wealth and profit for ourselves and run a successful business and reinvest that back into the business, but reinvesting that back into the community really kind of goes to show, I guess, it really goes to show how our priorities are lined up in a lot of ways, right? Even Kaitlin stepping in so you can take more time, like that's Kaitlin giving time so that you could give time, right? So like that's really cool that you guys have learned and working on that balance to really support Regina as a whole. Yeah. Quickly, where in the next 3 to 6 months do you see real estate headed in Regina? Do you see us kind of staying on the same trajectory that you've kind of been on for the last few years, or is there? We just had an election. Is there things that you kind of see that might change? Where do you? With an educated crystal ball, obviously, because we have it right here, right? So, what might you see or recommend to people?
Honestly, I think we'll see some small incremental gains over the next 6 to 12 months. I know that a lot of the people of Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, British Columbia might have been looking for that change of the guard at Parliament Hill, which didn't happen. So, I think we need to let the next few months here shake out and see how things will change. Without policies changing, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how much our local economy or our real estate market here is going to change in the next 6 to 12 months. But it'll be exciting to see. It'll
be exciting to see. But you can still expect people putting their houses on the
absolutely.
market. Come spring, you'll see a little bit of a
life still happens, right?
So people still buy and sell.
Yeah. So I mean, while it has slowed down, we still have transactions, regular transactions, and people still do want to buy. They still want to move to their second. People buy real estate in stages. They want to, move on to that next stage of their life. They are having kids. They need a bigger home. They are downsizing. They do want less space. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Life still happens. So people still want to make decisions. They still do want guidance on how to make the best decisions for them financially and in their life, and we're always here to guide them.
Yeah, well, and they needed somewhere to live.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
So within that, I have 2 last questions. The last question is, what is your vision for real estate as you guys launch into this next phase? Vision with me for a second. Where are you guys seeing yourselves headed? And then both, I guess, personal and then as you build this new partnership.
Yeah. I'd really like to continue to grow our business, eventually grow our team, maybe with a buyer's agent as we continue to increase our business, but really just to provide the best possible service that we can to our clients, educate them and just really help them through that buying or selling journey.
I've always had this little personal vision of owning my own brokerage in which every single transaction, big or small, gave a little portion back to specific charities or nonprofits. And that's something that I guess in part I'm doing personally, but I've always had that vision of having a brokerage that continually gives back locally. So that's kind of my long-term goal. So
awesome. Well, both those are awesome. You continue to grow so that you can grow and do more,
right?
Which is beautiful, and take care of your community in the process, which is also
exactly
both your real estate family and your broader community. So last question is, what is something that I haven't asked you that you were really hoping I would ask, or that you wanted to speak to?
We've covered a lot. I don't know.
If there's anything that you're like, man, potential clients, you need to understand this thing. I don't know how many times I've had to say it, but like I'm going to say it once on record.
think people are starting to wrap their brain around the decrease in the market. You know,
Okay.
3 years ago, it was really tough to get a seller to understand that you're not getting what you paid for your property 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I think people are starting to understand that. But for anyone that hasn't followed the real estate market or doesn't know what's going on, you know, we have seen a drop in our market in the last 5 years. But like we said, you know, things are slowly starting to increase. So hopefully we're going to rebound a little bit. We certainly won't rebound, you know, as quickly as we came down over the last 5 years, but we're starting to see a little bit of positivity there.
Cool. Yeah. Anything else?
I don't know. Real estate's fun. We try and make it as fun as we can.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. There is a lot of opportunity out there for people, especially first-time buyers, especially now. There's a lot of opportunity to get into the market, especially when our government is making and our banking systems are making it so tough. So, you know, seek out your local real estate professional and chat. If it's something that's been itching at you, it's definitely a good time to seize the opportunity.
Do you have a fun anecdotal story?
I listed a house just a little while ago, and these people are Halloween enthusiasts.
Okay.
And basically, I walked down to the basement, and I looked to the right, and I got scared out of me. Just these Jason mask, a Freddy mask, and then these life-size Halloween dolls. And that's the first thing people see when they go into a basement. And I'm like, I think we need to make some changes around.
List your property as what is it called, a haunted house?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. They did actually subsequently, based on a little bit of hesitation and based on my recommendation, they did actually take them down. The house did sell after, you know, several months of it not selling. So thank you for that. If you guys do ever listen to it, you know, it was a good lesson in, you know, how to stage the property and get it ready to sell. You know, cool. While I didn't care, you know, some people coming through the house, and people are strange, right? So some people might get a little turned off by it, or, you know, not want to spend a lot of time down there to fully explore the space and see whether it will work for them, whether it will work for their family.
After your heart stops pounding from seeing all the masks. Yeah.
You know, it's like, kids, stay up there. You know, it's so. But I mean, that's a little story. After 10 years, we have a lot, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing off the top of my head. But.
Cool. Well, thank you guys very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
My
appreciate
pleasure.
Your time.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you this morning.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. And we will see you guys in Saskatoon. Cheers, everyone.